Satan! Amen.
Thanks for taking a chance on this documentary. Hopefully it's not too raw for your taste, but then again, if you like commercial things, you probably don't listen to this music anyway. The thing that you will first notice is that there is no narrator. The reason for that is not the low budget. I mean, we couldn't even afford light bulbs. I'm not doing this for atmosphere. But anyway, the absence of a narrator is because I wanted the artists to tell the story of black metal, not an outsider. But you will notice somebody who's not in the band, who has a microphone and he's asking questions. That's Danny Shipman. He does a television show out in California called Reality Check. The reason why his questions are heard and the reason why he is seen is because that is one of the ways that I show you that the topic is being changed.
You invented the term black metal, so do you consider the term to be bastardized these days?
No, it's been used by people who shouldn't use it. It's a bit like the whole Norwegian scene when really they should come up with their own name, you know, like, I don't know, corpse paint metal or Norse metal or whatever, but they're not black metal. Black metal is Venom. It describes our music, which is thrash metal, power metal, speed metal, death metal, and it's all of the metals. We do fast songs, slow songs, sex, drugs, rock and roll, Satanism, everything. A lot of those bands play either just death metal or just whatever metal, but they're certainly not black metal. They just couldn't find a term for themselves, so they just jumped on ours.
Well, it would be stupid to argue that Venom didn't start it.
Black metal pretty much originated back when Venom did an album entitled Black Metal. And originally it was anything that was dark, satanic lyrics that talked about the occult, Satanism, devil worship, and it ended up manifesting into a movement.
Taking this style of music and also adding a concept and ideology to it, so it's more than music.
As far as I remember, around 1991, 1992, the first wave of the new black metal generation started with bands like Dark Throne or Immortal, and I think it was the last time when something really new was added to the whole genre of metal.
There'd been other bands from the 60s and 70s who dealt with sort of occult kind of topics, but Venom just sort of coined the phrase and mixed it all together. And so previous to that, it didn't really exist.
You can't sort of turn this into a joke. Black metal is not a joke. It has to be intense. The integrity has to be there, or else it does not work at all. I mean, hence the other Venom without me. I mean, you know, it was simply a joke, and the kids just didn't buy it immediately. They seen right through the lie, you know. And like those bands who parody black metal, you know, it doesn't work. It'll never work. They'll get one album out, nobody will want to know them again, you know, because you know, it has to come from the soul. It has to come from your fucking balls, or it just isn't going to work, you know. Simple as.
When I'm making dark tone riffs and shit, I don't think brutal. I think in a very special way. That's more like black metal, but nowadays it's more like riffs like Hellhammer, Celtic Frost, old battery shit. That's what we're here for.
Black metal has to remain extreme art. Most people enjoy art like painting. They like paintings because they enjoy the scenery. It's like something nice to see. They read books because these books are entertaining. They will be, you know, nice to read for a couple of hours. They enjoy music that are nothing more than fashion, something they like or they will dance on. Well, black metal has to be a part of the other art.
Black metal, everything is pretty high. Very high screamed vocals. The guitars were not tuned down. They were played at a very high tone scales.
I think if the person can't play his guitar and the guitar sounds absolutely shit, it sounds like a wasp, you probably have a fucking black metal.
It's definitely something that's an acquired taste. You know, you kind of have to know what you're looking for or listening for to really get the overall sense of it.
I don't think there's any sonic definition of black metal other than it is metal.
And music that will be something else than just fashion. Music that will change your soul into something else music that reach higher levels of comprehension.
You know, there's bands that play it extremely slow with lots and lots of keyboards. There's bands that play it extremely fast with just ripping guitars. And then you get, you know, just even your mid-pace bands that use operatic style stuff in it with actual female singers.
In general, black metal is about spreading the word of Satan. It's the music is not as important as the message.
I could point out for you what is typical Norwegian black metal riff. I could do that, but people don't really know what that typical sort of riffing is, because that was the guitarist from Thorns, Snorre, and Euronymous that started that whole sort of riffing.
A lot of people would argue that, oh, you know, when they listen to Venom or they listen to Merciful Fate, they say, oh, it's not black metal because it doesn't sound like Dark Throne.
Well, black metal's pretty much started with Venom back in 81 or 82 with the album Welcome to Hell. They were the first act that actually called their music black metal, and that's why I have this point of view about black metal. I mean, Venom doesn't sound anything like modern black metal bands, but it's, you know, it's still black metal. It's the same lyrical concept, the satanic lyrics and stuff, and yeah, Venom sounded more like punk than black metal nowadays. So black metal can be any kind of metal.
Black metal can just be this little part of madness into a general feeling of normality. It has to be something you live.
Also, the whole lyrics have to deal about mystical stuff.
Use Warpaint. Demon Warpaint.
Nobody could suggest it didn't come from Gene Simmons and Kiss and Alice Cooper and that kind of thing.
I can't deny that I was, you know, Kiss was my first band. I'm still a Kiss fan, you know, and I love that old shit, you know?
Of course.
Like 1980, I was 7 years old. I got, you know, I fell over Destroyer. And then the demon awoke in me.
It's part of the psychodrama we present our music, our ideas.
The reason we use makeup is to celebrate our inner demons. It's a celebration. It's not a theater thing.
I wear corpse paint because I feel that Agathon is kind of person inside me, and I don't want him to be labeled as me. He is a different person than I am, so he looks different.
And when you see these people on stage that just look like they're from the depths of hell, it just pushes the whole feel, the whole essence of the show to the next level.
I don't see a lot of the more established bands actually doing it. I think the only band I see do these days is like bands like Orgroth, and but they're so hardcore, you know, it's like what they do.
Well, I used it in my former band, Phobia, but that's long ago.
We never have been friends of corpse paint because it's a kind of contradiction. Black metal bands always want to appear very individual, play very individual kind of music and so on. But if you use corpse paint, you get very uniformed. Each band looks like another one.
There's only one Abbot.
What's that? Yeah. Well, out of you.
I've seen a lot of bands, you know, trying to, copy my makeup, and I don't care because there's only one Abbot.
You know, it's like, you paint your inner face. That's what it's all about. I mean, like, because when I joined Dark Funeral, I never had a corpse paint on in my whole life. And I asked Araman, who's been wearing it for years before me, and said, like, what the fuck is it? Just let, like, Satan take over your fucking hand and draw your fucking face.
This was my first shot, I never tried different things, The first time I put on makeup, this was it.
Yeah.
This is me.
Just perform something that it was done by the bands before, and they don't even understand the reason of all that. So I think it's better today not to use this kind of artifacts, because you are just doing it the wrong way.
It's kind of masquerade, a very stupid masquerade. You look like a clown.
Maybe it is a little passe.
For Gorgoth is the only natural way to present our music. Well, I don't care if it's passe or whatever.
It was us and King Diamond and early Slayer folks. I think these were like among the earliest bands who used that. And of course in the 70s I loved Arthur, or the 60s and 70s I loved Arthur Brown and Alice Cooper who also used makeup like that. But I think in the newer wave of metal in the 80s, I think it was these three bands who probably caused some stir. I don't want to credit us solely for that, but there's photos of us in 83 using corpse paint.
Well, I mean, our first singer, I mean, when I joined the band as a fucking rhythm guitarist years ago, we had a singer who wore the corpse paint, you know, very much like Alice Cooper. You know, if it's done in the right way, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, I like some of that stuff anyway. I like some of the sort of Burzums and Mayhems and things like that. You know, it's great metal. I mean, I prefer to listen to metal than any other kind of music, you know. I mean, if you were to say to me, you know, here's the worst corpse paint metal band in the world, or here's fucking Britney Spears, I listen to the fucking worst corpse paint metal band in the world, you know. I fucking love metal, you know, so... You know, for me, it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's, you know, you see it in the faces of some of those guys, you know, I mean, it's the intensity, they're fans of the music and they want to create some of their own. And I fucking think that's 100%, man. That's fucking, you know, great for them to try, you know. Everybody should fucking have a go, you know.
So are keyboards cool or not?
Well, in the right way, yeah. I mean, if they're used for effect and everything, depends, you know. We used keyboards on the What Was Satan album to add some bass tones behind the atmosphere and things. So, yeah, they can be cool.
I don't know. We don't use keyboards in our music.
Yes, they are if they're used in the right way.
We always used keyboards because you have a special opportunity to create very, very deep atmosphere.
Most of the people today into underground black metal believe that if you make it with very few budget, you are a true black metal band. But in fact, if you take all these bands, Beherit or Darkthrone or whatever, they made this kind of raw recording because they had no better choice. And trying to do that today is like useless. It's just like being marionettes, just trying to do something that you don't even understand. Most of these kids have lots of money and they just try to do something they cannot even perceive.
Because it's necro.
The reason why many black metal bands are just using raw 4-track production is they don't have to practice, they don't have to do many rehearsals. They just go into the cellar for several hours and record some kind of crap demo And then they say, okay, that's cool, that's true black metal, and everybody else who is working hard, who is writing on songs for many, many months, practicing the whole time, this is not black metal.
And I think a lot of the black metal bands tend to use the 4-track home recording sound to make themselves sound like they're a truer black metal band. But there's only been a handful of bands that I personally listen to who I think can pull that off.
It's coming from the 80s, more or less, when death metal became more technical, better produced in the States, and in Norway we went the other way, having poorer productions, focusing more on atmosphere. And
when Venom came out and stuff, and Hellhammer, it was often the bands were doing the best they could with the limited time money they had, and the sort of ugly production was a sort of counteraction to, I suppose, a lot of the mainstream productions where people could play very well, bands like Iron Maiden and that kind of thing, and that sort of attitude still prevails in black metal today. It's not really, often it's not necessarily about the sound or how well it's recorded or how well it's played, it's more about the feeling behind it.
I personally don't have nothing against well-produced albums, and I hope that people are not that stupid that they even think about this kind of stuff. Good music is good music, even if it is done in woods or in $1,000,000 studio.
A band can become a shitty band and lose all spirit without getting any money. And some bands can gain a lot of money and have still the same money, the same spirit. It's all about being still perverse and having the same goal, which is mainly be a herald of Satan and bring something to the other people. To bring something to the people who are already into it, and to try to bring some more people to the cult.
And they say, okay, all these bands with expensive productions, they are the traitors of the scene. But I think it's the other way around. I think those with raw 4-track productions are the traitors. Because they don't add any quality to black metal. If black metal just would work, like those people think, it would stagnate. There wouldn't be any development at all anymore.
I think in order to, experiment as an artist in this form, why limit yourself to just doing 4-track home recordings when, you can go into a studio and experiment with sounds and come up with something that's unique.
So the first Venom album was actually a demo. So do you think that the success of that album confused metal fans and make them think that a raw production is true black metal?
Well, it wasn't just the raw production of the band. It was the raw production of the studio. It was a very battered old fucking studio as well. That gear was fucking well through. I mean, the desk and the actual desk and the tape machine was used to record Ziggy Stardust Spiders from Mars album. Really? That's how old it was. Yeah, that's a fact. Absolutely. The gear was fucking ancient. It was a demo studio anyway. It was owned by a band called Lindisfarne, and they used to go in there to record the demos, and then they'd go down to London and record their album properly. When I joined the studio, there was no metal in the building at all. And it was sort of me going around the clubs and seeing all the metal bands that were starting out at the time that actually convinced the record company to start releasing some metal albums. Tigers Pantang, Raven Fist, White Spirit, and bands like that at the time, which was part of the new wave of British heavy metal. Right. And then we sort of muscled in and got some Venom demos done and, bribed them into releasing the fuckers, and it worked out quite well.
Most black metal bands will use the straight black and white imagery. Again, that goes back to, if you look at the early Bathory albums and the early black metal album from Venom that are black and white, and I think it kind of cuts it down. There's nothing flashy about it. It says, it's a bold statement, it's saying we don't, basically, fuck you, we don't care what you say, this is how we are, this is what we're about.
I think that because the whole brightly coloured sort of thing became a very death metal thing in the early 90s, of these brightly coloured, sort of gory, fantastical images, and a lot of the black metal was a reaction to the way some of the death metal had gone in the 90s, because they felt they'd lost the whole point of what really is death metal, i.e. death obsessed, you know, or whatever, or morbid, crude music.
We sing in Norwegian and also English. Some songs are suited for expressing things in Norwegian, and I'm sure lately we have more or less used English because mainly because our base, or the people we are presenting our ideas to, is a worldwide audience, and it's better to present ideas in a language people can relate to than using Norwegian. But Norwegian is more natural for us, expressing some kinds of atmosphere. It's hard to express everything in English, you know.
Well, we used to sing in Norwegian, and we on the Monumentation album we wanted to try out. We just felt that the music fit better with the English language, like the international thing, you know. And we have just continued because it worked for us. So it actually feels, it's very strange, but it feels more natural to have lyrics in English. Actually, it's easier to sing English than Norwegian. The articulation is pretty difficult with that type of vocals that I'm using.
Seems to be this kind of like the elitism.
Oh yeah, we have rituals where we actually sacrifice black metal albums from America.
Even in US, there are not that many good bands as you could have if we think about the population that you have there.
We have seen such great bands rising from countries like Australia, Asia, Europe, America. Who cares really? All these are just low-life matters.
I don't think it should necessarily be frowned upon, because there's a lot of really good American black metal bands.
I don't think they do. They don't do that in Norway. Everyone is listening to any kind of extreme metal, death metal, black metal, whatever. No.
To be honest, some of the really classic bands came out of here. I mean, Morbid Angel, for God's sake. You know, D-Side. I mean, you can't take that away.
If you take a Norwegian band, after a few weeks, these bands will get signed and get CDs everywhere. But all the other countries, mostly, will have to go on mutating, evolving to something really complete before being exposed to the outer world. And I think this is one of the main differences between all these countries.
The second wave black metal was a very European thing, and you had the Greek sound and the Finnish sound and the Norwegian sound, and it was German bands and Swiss bands and that kind of thing. And it did seem to take a lot more time to catch on in America, because the people there seem to be much more interested in death metal and that kind of thing.
If you create a light, the shadows will always be something secondary from the light, you know. And the Norwegian bands in the beginning created the light, and the other things will just become shadows of it, you know.
Well, black metal in America, I guess it started up a couple of years later than the European Norwegian black metal, and I'm really not that familiar with any black metal acts from the States, but I guess some of them are copycats. I'm not mentioning any names.
I really don't think there's much difference between the two, really, other than different heritage.
It was very hard for French bands to export, but this was really good for these scenes, because being kept cloistered has made all these bands going to something more harsh and more extreme all the time. There were no commercial purposes, and so these bands are nothing else than pleasing themselves, pleasing the master.
Fire! Fire!
in the beginning, black and death metal were more or less the same thing, and then death metal became bloated and fat on MTV Money and major labels, and it left the what a lot of me, and I included at the time, thought left behind a lot of the ideals that we thought were death metal, which was death metal is the back of 7 churches by Possessed, and that's it. You don't stray from the formula.
Merry fucking Christmas! Kill your fucking grandma, bitch!
We were deep into that death metal thing, and we had our own theory, like, it should be possible to play the riffs, for instance, on synthesizer or cello or whatever, to fit to a horror movie.
There are mainly two kinds of death metal. One which is mainly from the beginning of death metal, which is this kind of very violent and satanic death metal with bands such as Dayside, Incantation, Beast of Warlust. These bands are really close to the real black metal. And there is this other kind of death metal which is more technical and whose lyrics will deal mostly with political views or these positive views or just about zombie spirit stories and all that.
I personally am against separating music and trying to put names on something that really the only way you're going to get is if you hear it.
I mean, a perfect example is Samoth, who used to be doing the whole Emperor thing, went over to do Cyclone, which is a very cool death metal band. So, to me, that tells me that I don't think that's really happening. Maybe it happened in the beginning when black metal was young and kind of naive and everybody was being really extreme.
These bands started turning up on MTV and they're talking about surfing and talking about, you know, all this stuff that just had absolutely nothing to do with the music. And it sounds trivial, but I suppose metal being such a cliquey kind of thing, you know, you know, people turn up wearing shorts and jogging suits and all this kind of stuff, and an awful lot of people just wanted metal, death metal, to just go back to the way it was, which was crude and ugly.
We were really fed up with the whole death metal thing anyway. Of course, Euronymous had always pointed that out, because whenever I would even bring him like first Autopsy demo to his house, you know, like in 88, 89, and I'd play it and like, listen to this fucking rules, and he would be more like, well, it's okay, and he would like just put on some Mutilated, you know, from France.
Black metal is also different because it's not like it's a huge family. We are not all friends because we wear a Darkthrone t-shirt or have long hair or something. There is no links between all of us. We feel more attached to people that are into extremism or into more satanic arts than just people who do black metal because they're used to do it. Black metal is the contrary of everything.
In general, it's black metal is about having a satanic approach and more serious about it, you know. And lots of death metal bands have more or less a socialist, common socialist approach, used to have at least. And so the ideas and the concept behind it is very different.
I think that it is the lyrics, because they are too out of nowhere in death metal bands. If you compare it to black metal, many black metal players live as they preach, or at least they should do that. But not that many death metal band players eat rotten corpses or vomit maggots or things like that, which they say in their lyrics.
They all came from the same originators, you know, and we're virtually doing the same thing, just in a little bit of a different manner, you know.
Don't forget that when black metal got started in Norway, most of the people involved were teenagers.
Right.
Not necessarily the most mentally evolved people. So attitudes are definitely going to be a little bit naive or, you know, overly cynical. So, you know, I mean, people are going to change. So, I mean, maybe you got some kids going, well, fucking death metal, that's fucking, it's shitty, it's commercial, it's horrible, and they put on some corpse paint and go into the fucking woods and take some pictures. I don't know, but I mean, that's exactly what we did. And then you kind of go, 5 years later, you kind of think, well, that was a bit fucking dumb.
Yeah. Over time, they began to, of course, come back to the fact that Morbid Angel and stuff were just simply great bands, but at the time, I guess they needed something to react against almost as well, you know, and, you know, a lot of it, the whole MTV thing, and the bands were selling 300,000-400,000 copies of albums, and I think it was just about time that people started to take the underground back again, to the old ways, the tape trading and the 7 inches and the underground fanzines, and they just got sick of the way things were being portrayed and about bands who, it seemed to them, didn't mean what they were singing about.
Extreme death metal is very close to the real extreme black metal. It's dealing about violence, but different ways to express this violence and this evil spirit, and kind of this, let's say, happy death metal will be very close to most of these black metal bands today, which just do that because that's what they used to do. And in fact, they don't care really about Satanism and all that.
We didn't change because anyone told us to. It was more like we saw old albums in a new light, and it was the black metal feeling came. And then you really couldn't continue playing technical death metal, so to say. I was totally uninterested in making riffs that were like 7, 8 rhythms or 14, 16 rhythms and things like this. We just made a decision to become primitive, or to play what we basically were listening to, and we still play that style. Totally primitive shit.
As years passed, going through the 90s especially, I think a lot of people would agree that a lot of the music, the metal, started to become politically correct.
I think that every human being have the same rights, as I have.
A music that was once violent and offensive, that dealt with darkness and brutal concepts, was becoming almost, I was calling it almost becoming like hippie music. You could offend one thing, but you couldn't say this about another thing.
Once Satan had become obsolete or was not offensive to people anymore, that a lot of angry young men were going to have to find some other way of sticking their finger up to people.
I've always felt black metal is a satanic music genre, not a political. So I think the mix between whatever political view you have, point of views you have, with black metal doesn't really fit.
In black metal, you had most bands now following the formula of Antichrist, kill the Christians. Well, what about the Jews? On a religious level, Christianity is based in Judaism. And on a different level, which NSBM takes it to, Jews are a race. I think that they're responsible for most of the wrongs in the world.
Racism and politics are so far away from our vision of black metal. Politics is nothing but the science of man to control other men, and to be interested in all that just means that you are someone locked to this natural and social society. We are really different from that.
The only time I ever was convicted for anything, it was for a demonstration against apartheid. But that was a phase of socialism. Then I went through a phase of being really angry with other races, and now I'm back to normal. Totally unengaged in political issues.
Every time we play, you always see the fucking hands going up. Sometimes I saw it yesterday. There's some fucking white power people over there, and usually I say get your fucking hand down.
Black metal shouldn't be about peace and love, and be careful who you offend.
We respect this kind of racism, or any kind of racism in the world, because they breed war, they breed hate, they breed killing, they breed rapes and all that. So we can understand these, but they are too low life hates to be performed by any of ours.
You know, the one who probably like made this whole rumors that black metal is all like a bunch of Nazis is I won't mention any band names, but
Burzum.
He's in prison right now, and he keeps changing. Kind of like first he was satanic, then he was pagan, and now he's a leader of an NS party. I mean, come on, what the fuck? I mean, make up your fucking mind.
I really don't know why that is. I mean, I could understand it if you live in a horrible neighborhood and you get beat up by somebody that's not of your ethnical background every day. Maybe that will really help you become a very open-minded person. Oh my God, that's my drummer trying to sound like Hitler.
You're constantly reminded in school, on various forms of the media, on television, MTV, how it was your ancestors that caused all this plight and strife in Africa and all over the world. It was your ancestors that brought the slaves here. It was your ancestors that committed the Holocaust. So I think that kids started to see this, react to it, and bringing out racialism in black metal is a way to glorify the past of ours that was being trampled.
I would say I am very proud of my heritage. I'm not one of these whining whites who have to feel sorry for their ancestors owning slaves or this and that and the other thing. But in the next sense, there's a lot of white trash I don't like to deal with either.
I'll admit, I had a fucking dumb period like about a year when I thought I was a fucking Nazi. And then I fucking woke up and I thought, Jesus Christ, what the fuck am I thinking about?
I don't think NSBM is a movement. It's more or less made up. It's only kids using words. They don't to spread some kind of fear or be shocking in a way.
NSBM. I don't know what it is.
These bands just play music which sounds like black metal, but it is something else. Why I feel like that is because to me black metal represents freedom of will and not totalitarian under someone other's laws. That is just what black metal should be against.
Nazism for me is a flock mythology and ideology, and black metal or at least Gorgoroth is both individual and creating your own morale out of chaos and be your own god, more or less.
So, influenced by Burzum, I think an awful lot of people followed his path, going from what he was into this more sort of cultural outlook,
Odinism became the common identity that racialists in the music scene and just in the social political scene around the world flocked to and bonded with. Basically, the essential reason is because during World War II, the Germans used various symbols from Nordic paganism, whether it was the Futhark runes, different Viking symbols. They used them on the uniforms, on their tanks, on their planes. So it was identified with National Socialism, and through the years it became a way of, identifying with that past and letting others know who were like you that you were down with the same kind of mentality without having to say it.
I think that's just their way of showing their pride and their heritage. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, as long as you express it intelligently.
To some people it meant something great, or to some people there was some ideological stance behind it, and to a lot of other people it was just jumping on the next bandwagon, and it really just meant that,
Your spirit is much more important than the country where you were born.
I think people should just play what they feel. If they feel that way about race, that's fine. It's the same thing as with religion, you know what I mean?
I still think it's cool that there are bands like Enslaved and Amon Amarth, because even though I don't really respect them, I don't think there's any real integrity behind it. It does at least expose the youth to Aryan paganism, and hopefully from there, they can use that as a spring to bigger and better things.
Satanism will also know that I have not excluded anything. But we've changed certain words. We omitted two words, Satan and Lucifer, because so many people out there got turned off as soon as they heard those words, because they've grown up, hearing from Christians that, this is what Satanism is all about, killing babies, doing this and that, Satan means the powers of the unknown, and that's very much what I'm singing about.
Using the devil in music is nothing new. I mean, the Rolling Stones did it, Heavy metal is the devil's music. The two go together hand in hand and always will do. I mean, it doesn't work in pop music. It works very well in heavy metal and always will.
Anton LaVey was probably the first one who opened society's eyes to what we would call Satanism.
I myself practiced the school of LaVeyan philosophy, which is Satan being represented as an archetype, a symbol that a person can resonate to, and almost being like a kindred spirit.
Satan is all that matter. Even if we use this word, because most of us are born in European or North American countries, and these are the symbols that were indulged to us. Satan is much more than all that. Satan has all names, and whatever the country, the society and time, he will have different aspects and names. So all this is just something from today's world. But still we are attached to this world because Satan represents in today's mentality the main spirit of eternal evil. He will always be the enemy of everything. This is what are all linked to us, all of us. We are all attracted by what is forbidden, what is the contrary. Even if some of us will make that one step beyond the line, and if all the others will just be frustrated.
The other form of Satanism would be your typical devil worshipper, which is basically just the inversion of Christianity and worshiping a horned figure in hell.
In my opinion, every people are born as Satanist. To me, it is purely form where you are at animal-like state. Therefore, guys like Anton LaVey are not tolerated by me because they try to do it as religion, and therefore they have to have laws who to obey. That is totally against my beliefs, since according to Bible, Lucifer was first who turned against God by asking why. And that is what Satanism is all about. Not to follow any leader than the one who is in the mirror.
I don't think it's anything more than a surface level ideology. I don't see any deeper meanings to Satanism other than offending people, shocking people, and misconstruing what is black magic and calling it Satanism.
I can agree on some parts of it, but it's still not something I'm adapting to totally.
Most of the people in the inner circle were pretty anti-LaVey, and they were more trying to be quote-unquote evil, which I thought was kind of funny.
It's not about wearing inverted cross that would make you an evil person. And it's as much your music and lyrics than your real life. All this has to be merged into something real and complete.
Satanism is almost very hypocritical because it never leaves the confines of Christianity. It's taking parts of paganism, satanizing it or Christianizing it, however you want to put it, and doesn't ever leave the Judeo-Christian roots.
If you take Sartre's work, Sartre said that what makes mankind is the idea of evil much more than evil itself. The goal is not so important. If you take the ancient times, with pilgrims made all these journeys, and the fact was that the geographical goal was not so important. The path was important. This was the moment where you were walking side by side with God, or whatever you can call him. And this meditation was important, not the end of the journey. And this is exactly it. Satan is of no time and no culture or society.
And then I would say third would be the dabbler, which doesn't really know much about anything, just gets bits and pieces and self-styles whatever he wants to do, and basically uses Satanism as a scapegoat.
So it came from this metal tradition that sort of never really was into something sort of more real, and I think a lot of Europeans were mixing their sort of Satanism with their cultural ideologies, they were just seeing Satan as a sort of a focus for their energies or something. They didn't actually believe that the devil existed or anything like that. And if Satan was Loki and Pan and Hecate all rolled up into one, you just chose him as your adversary or something like that.
This is to be enjoyed. That's what it's all about, and it's not about sort of following rules. It's about breaking rules, and that's where the satanic element comes in. Yeah, it's about do your own thing, use your own mind, don't listen to other fucking people, and live your own fucking life. You're born alone, you die alone, and what you fucking do in the middle, you want to make some fucking proper decisions about how you're going to live your life, and that's the big message behind what Venom do. Is it's about being fucking honest to yourself.
For some of those fucked up crazy people, even Elvis was Satan.
Yeah.
And also Kiss,
Yep.
They had a lot of problems with these people.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to face these motherfuckers.
We are not out there in the public eye, so they don't see us as a really strong enemy yet.
What you want me to say about religions, it's like it's stupid people need some hope, but they have so much blood on their hands, and I just can turn my back and say, fuck religions,
Christianity is just a bunch of fucking lies. It's the best fucking fiction book ever written in history. The Holy Bible. It's the best fiction book, because it's all fucking bunch of hypocrisy. It's totally censored. If you read the Kabbalah, it's totally censored, and twisted to their benefit. And it's all money-sucking fucking vampires.
They are probably the worst, the Catholics. They are living their lives in totally disregard and disrespect for themselves and everybody around them.
I still wear my upside down cross, I hate the fucking church. I think they're fake, So, but I'm not into this silly Satan stuff,
It's all mass manipulation. It's all about weakening humankind, what you are preaching. And of course, I feel like there's so much bullshit and I can't accept it. And I feel like it's time for, more people to show that it's unacceptable to, treat people the way they do. and put people into total submission.
Digging up corpses is, how would you like it if somebody dug up, if your mom is dead and somebody dug her up and chopped her head off and put it on top of a grave or something? You wouldn't really like it. That's the way I feel. I think it's fucking retarded.
People who know about Satanism will also know that I have not excluded anything. But we've changed certain words. We omitted two words, Satan and Lucifer, because so many people out there got turned off as soon as they heard those words, because they've grown up, hearing from Christians that, this is what Satanism is all about, killing babies, doing this and that, Satan means the powers of the unknown, and that's very much what I'm singing about.
Blasphemy are useful things because it's just like atomic power. It's you take small symbols and you destroy them, and you can unleash a greater power. And the more the symbol has been used and accepted by the mass, the more power you can get from it. Burning a church is a direct attack to man, because you attack all that has been built around the idea of God, the story of Jesus, or whatever.
I feel that church burnings were great deeds. Even I think that they turned against themselves by strengthening communities' beliefs into God, because they had something to fear.
The reason we never, were involved in the church burning, because if you burn a church, the government built it up again.
As far as burning churches, that's something that went on quite a lot in Norway actually back in the day, and what we came to realize is if you want to fight something, that's not the way to do it, because that's just going to solidify their faith.
The church burning as a symbolic act, I can understand. As a kind of revenge, in a bigger historical point of view, maybe the Christianity has been the most violent religions of them all. So in a historical point of view, a bigger picture, they kind of deserve it.
I believe that the church burnings were great because those people try to show to Christians that they are not tolerated in Scandinavia.
Of course, I support that way of thinking, but I will never burn a church myself.
If you really want to fight something like that, like something as big and established as Christianity, you'd probably have to do it in a different way. You'd probably have to somehow break down their morale, question the faith, get that thing going. Burning a church, that's just gonna put fear in them, and they're just gonna hold their hands even tighter.
I never think about religion that way. I think religion is a very individual, personal thing, and nobody in here, all these people, believe exactly the same way in whatever we believe in anyway. We're individuals, and we, because of that, have different thoughts, different feelings, different needs, and you gotta respect that in people,
I would never condemn somebody else for fucking their religion. If somebody wants to pray to a fucking God, go for it. It's got nothing to do with me. It's not what I would do, but I certainly wouldn't condemn them for it.
Yeah.
Why would I do that?
We're talking belief here, and it's not a thing you can grasp and say, okay, look here, I have proof here, what I say is right.
Yeah, what happened? We did a recording for a DVD, and somehow the authorities were in Poland accused us for blasphemy, and so we had to go to court and stuff like that. But in the end, they ended up with putting the producer from Metal Mind Productions. So he is now facing like 5 years in prison or something in Poland for putting up the show.
always had a joke element on the albums, just so you know. It was always we would always like want to retain that tongue in cheek.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have a fucking good laugh doing what we're doing as well. It's just other people don't get our jokes.
Yeah.
And they straight away, oh, you're not fucking serious. You're not a Satanist. Like, what is a Satanist? Not allowed to laugh.
Yeah, of course not.
You know, of course not. You know what I mean? What, suppose, what you got to be miserable all the time? Yeah? What is that? You know, I just don't get it, you know? Right, so, right, you're into Satan, right, you got to keep a straight face and never, ever laugh. So you can sit a Satanist down in the middle of a dice clay gig and you will never break a smile, right? I don't fucking believe that for 1 second.
Come on now, do it right!
How do you feel about certain black metal bands boasting bands like Venom just write make-believe lyrics about demonic killings, whereas Norwegian black metal bands actually live out the things that they say in their songs?
No, they don't. What, burning a church? I mean, look, there's a big difference between being a musician and being like a felon, yeah? I mean, you know, if you want to go and commit a crime and go to jail, well, go on then. Or do you want to be a musician and tour the world and make albums? There's a fucking very, very big difference, you know? So they're not musicians.
It's great, though, to have like a myth around a musical style. I'd say it's a bad thing for me, but for people that want to get into it, sort of like, so it's easier to get into something that's myth-ridden because it's exciting.
Violence today, in 90% of the cases, are just an image into black metal bands. They wear makeup, they wear spikes, but we have played with so many bands that were so different in the backstage than when they were on stage, screaming about Satan, and about all this. I mean, this is not a game.
This is a very, very difficult and very huge topic. But in some way, I even think it was crucial for the development of black metal what happened in Norway, no matter how you look at it.
Yeah, it wouldn't have the notoriety, you know, if it wouldn't be for the church burnings and the murders, you know. It wouldn't have. Although, you know, what is there satanic about, you know, a friend murdering his friend for whatever reasons there weren't any satanic reasons why he did it. All the reasons are the same reasons why it happens every day at any place in this world, you know. With any person that considers themselves to be Buddhist or Christian or Hindu or Muslim or whatever.
Violence in black metal is like in any scene, or when you have lots of people gathered together. Some use it, some doesn't. I think that it is that simple.
Black metal is a kind of underground society. We have other rules, and all the people that still try to belong to the normal human rules are breaking something. They're just taking black metal image, black metal history, a part of themselves, and this is really wrong because it has to go forward every time.
Last year I was the only remaining member, being able to walk as a free man in the streets of Norway.
You know, fighting looks cool in the movies, you got the sound effects, it's a cool fucking sound when you hit the fucking face. You know, in a bar fight, it's like hitting a piece of meat. Everybody looks like idiots when they fight. Nobody looks cool.
A band like Arca Infestus in our home country, most of the French people hate us because when they see us after the show or in our real life, there is nothing different. They see us the way we are, the way we say we are.
Gaulis in prison. Did the devil help him? No, he got caught. He went to jail. So how satanic's that? You know, was the devil looking after him? Ooh, no.
Once again,
you know,
a felon.
The cop came and arrested him and said, "You will go to jail." And the judge said, "Go to jail." Where was the devil helping him? I mean, it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
So he's really satanic, is he? Because he stabbed some fag or whatever. You know, duh.
He was attacked by this guy and he defended himself.
So why is he in prison if he's the one that got attacked?
Now it's the loser of a battle. He's all claimed to be the victim.
Once again, people were kind of young, people were really influenced by what was going on. I mean, I think it turned into one of those, everybody wanted to outdo each other. I'm pretty happy I never got that far. I mean, I remember I had my ideas about something, but it never happened, thank fucking God.
You know, there was this spate of murders and people burning down churches and that kind of thing, you know, committing violent acts against Christians and that kind of thing. It just seemed to be more of a trend than anything else.
We are not linked by the way we are dressed, by the fact we have long hair or dressed in black and all that. All these are not linked. We are just, it's not a reminiscence of the heavy metal spirit. It's just like in the world, we are all different facets of humanity and we are not tied by anything. It's just about Satan and violence.
We're living in our own world, you know. We don't want to, you know, end up in jail.
As far as I'm concerned, we have reached a point in evolution where we do not have to take swings at each other. We can solve most things, conflicts, without actually behaving like cavemen.
You know, we hurt people with our music. That's what we do.
Or something from Abruptum was angry with me because something like the scene almost, you know, split like attitude-wise because of the who's rooting for Count Grishnak and who's rooting for Euronymous, you know, and everyone was like figuring that I didn't give a fuck about Euronymous, but I like both guys.
I think the suicide of Dead was probably a personal thing for him. I mean, you know, I don't think that he had any idea that that would become a big part of a black metal explosion thing that happened a couple years later. I think that was on his mind. I think what actually made that into a big deal was the fact that photos of it existed and they got spread throughout the world, and they eventually ended up on a on a record sleeve.
To the guy who threw a beer in my face, I'll buy you another one after. Motherfucker!
If I had paid good money to go and see a band and some jerk next to me was throwing something at the band, I'd fucking knock his lights out. You know, who the fuck are you to stop the show when I'm coming to see a fucking band I want to see?
I think it was in Hilversum in Holland, or some other town, I don't remember. And people had this idea of, different idea of stage diving. They were like, instead of diving off the stage, they were diving on the stage. So after like 5 people have been diving into my bass guitar and into my microphone, I was like bleeding from my mouth. I got really pissed off. And I just like warned people, okay, the next guy who's diving into me, he's gonna get his ass kicked. I'm warning you, I'm a nice guy, but I will kick your ass. And of course, 1 minute later, there was this guy flying into me. And of course, you know, I kicked his ass and threw him off the stage. Then I suddenly discovered what I've done. It was because some bastards had thrown a fucking crippled into me with like a, what do you call, CP. So I threw him off the stage. He was lying on the floor, all shaking, looked at me like a, you know, like a small dog or whatever, like, ugh. I was like, oh, I was like, sorry, man. That was actually a very terrible act to do, you know?
Yeah.
Throw a cripple at me, you know? Who does that?
Yeah.
Kerrang's just a load of fucking rubbish. It's a joke. I mean, Kerrang, Karap, fucking Kaching, you know, like sellout mag. You know, basically Kerrang cut its hair. Kerrang has now got short hair. It's not a metal mag. Not when you've got Busted on the front cover and other fucking such lame shit.
Of course, it helps in some ways spreading or giving the scene in Norway some kind of attention.
I think that article did very little other than ridicule black metal.
We were actually included in the article about being one of the bands that the Inner Circle despised because of the Levian Church of Satan connection. Obviously, I was actually in contact with some of the people that were in the groups, and I never had a problem with them personally. Yeah, sure, we didn't agree on everything we believed, but really in life, who the fuck does? But I think the whole battle and the whole imagery of the whole black metal scene over there was really hyped up by the media, and Kerrang was a big part of that.
We absolutely hated the fact that black metal was in Kerrang. You know, it was kind of, I suppose it was that kind of elitism, whether it was your thing and you didn't want people who were involved in the sort of overground scene who casually bought Napalm Death albums to all of a sudden discover, you know, Mayhem and all these kind of bands. But in hindsight, Kerrang is tabloid journalism, and they were just looking for an exciting story.
Emperor and Cradle of Filth, wonderful examples of that. I don't think any of those bands got any fucking respect until they suddenly exploded and started selling a lot. All of a sudden, everybody's their friend. Before that, you know, they were ridiculed in magazines like Kerrang.
Kerrang was made up of some guys who, like, you know, really enjoyed metal, and then they realised that they had a little bit of power and could make and break bands. So, you know, they had their weekly favourites. You know, one week it was Exodus, next week it was Slayer, and you know, it all just went to their heads. We went down to some party in London. They were all dressed up like fucking rock stars with leather pants on and snakeskin boots. It was absolutely made us puke to the bones. You know, it was so sick. It's like, you're journalists, not rock stars. You know, it was a classic case of power trip and going straight to their heads. Fucking fools.
You know, I don't have a problem with Kerrang. I would have pointed that out. They've been cool to me, but you know, they know what I'm talking about. You know, they're sensationalists.
Don't believe everything you read in the fucking press, man.
Yeah.
They just make it up. You know, when I don't answer questions, they just write anything what they fucking like.
Anybody who knows anything about metal knows that there's a million hybrids for every genre. You've got pagan black metal, this, that, the other, you know, there's just millions of hybrids, you know.
Who cares about playing Viking black metal or atmospheric black metal? All these are just aspects that people try to do because they can't attach anymore to this kind of music. They are like insects turning around light. They feel attracted to it, but they can understand it really. They can see if it's the real light or the fake light. So they just keep closer to it and they will die from it.
There's very few real black metal bands left, because it's based in the satanic agenda. And Enslaved is not about that. Now there is Dimmu Borgir, so they are playing an extreme form of metal music, but it's not black metal.
The name of the style is not really important. The spirit is what matters.
Black metal is black metal. You know, if somebody moves away from that, then they stop being black metal. But you can't make black metal bad. I mean, black metal is black metal.
Goth? No, I don't think black metal's anything to do with goth.
Well, as I told you, there's a lot of different black metal bands. There's a lot of different musical styles, so I guess some black metal is related to goth.
I'd rather see the goths being influenced by metal. I think metal is a superior musical art form, and I view goth as a more feminine type of scene.
So are bands like Cradle of Filth considered black metal?
No, they're just called crap.
I guess somebody hates them, and I guess they're not true enough for some people.
For me, it's also a little bit ridiculous what bands like Cradle of Filth do when they get so commercial.
A lot of people would level things against Cradle of Filth, but like I remember talking to Danny in about 1993, 94, and famous last words, he turned up wearing a brightly coloured Cradlefield t-shirt, and I said, "Oh man, no one's ever going to buy those because t-shirts, metal t-shirts, then were always red, and white on black." And he goes, "Oh mate, just you wait and see." And he says, "You know what? I'm not going to be fucking poor."
I think it's a far cry from what black metal was when it started. At least if you want to follow the Norwegian route, you know, when it started in Norway. I mean, it was definitely not about selling shitloads of albums and you know, basically being sort of not very scary.
At least they brought many girls to the metal concerts.
Musical treason?
I don't like that word, but you know, it's this is obviously Beelzebub, right?
Bands should be allowed to change, you know, if they want to. Progress, you know, that's fine by me. We change ourselves, so, you know.
I wouldn't call it treason, but a band I respect a shitload, Celtic Frost, or I don't know if you say Celtic or Celtic.
As long as people remember the name, I think it doesn't matter how they pronounce it.
They released this album called Coldly.
That I feel is obvious, the album has absolutely no quality. It's an abomination. The songwriting, no matter how you look at it, even if you put a different band's name on that album, the songwriting is just pitiful. I only have contempt for that album.
I don't know what Tom Warrior was thinking. He must have been out of his mind.
I'm utterly disappointed in myself for being able, in quotation marks, to create such low-class work, because usually I have much higher quality.
He seems to be a really a cool guy, very intelligent man. I mean, with a lot of integrity. So you know, it's weird looking back and seeing that album in their discography.
I think nobody loves this album more than I do, because I'm the one on there. A fan can say it's a shit album, then they can go on to the next album. I'm on there, my picture's on there, my awful picture's on there, my awful music's on there, my awful vocals, my awful songwriting is on there, my awful lyric writing is on there. I hate this album.
And they released some of the most genius stuff, like Into the Pandemonium, you know, and then the Morbid Tales, and stuff like that. And they just come out with a really cool new album too. I gotta somehow see it live before it's too late.
What did you think of Venom without Kronos when they wasn't?
It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't Venom. It was ridiculous. I mean, they even went out as the name of Sons of Satan at first, with some fucking lame singer who was trying to be me. He was just fucking stupid anyway, you know. It was just pathetic.
Yeah. Kronos is Venom to me. To me, if Venom doesn't have Kronos, it ain't Venom. I mean, you just have this persona. It's better that it's you with these guys than it was. Mantis and Abaddon with somebody else. It just didn't work.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't work, no, because A, they would be doing it for the money, which we don't. We do this for the integrity. And B, I mean, it's not in their souls to do this. You know, this isn't their idea. I mean, you know, this has always been my idea. I mean, you know, that guy who they got in for the singing, I mean, he now stars in some play called Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in the West End. So, I mean, what the fuck's all that about, yeah? Fucking homosexual fucking ass, you know? So, I mean, that's absolute crap. I mean, he could never be any fucker in Venom when you would actually take a job like that. That just shows you how much of a fucking wimp he is.
Back in the 80s, there was bands like Venom and Celtic Frost and Slayer and Destruction, and the common denominator with all those bands were they were heavy, they were underground, but they all had their own style, they all had their own niche, and they didn't sound like a carbon copy of each other. If we can get bands back into that frame of thinking, this music will stay alive for years to come.
the future of black metal, as it seems, is that it will be overflooded with so many bands that have nothing to do with black metal.
Now that it has come of age, I really am able to relate to that music, and I have huge problems with the first wave of black metal and with the beginning of the second wave. But now the music's really become mature and much more experimental.
It's going to keep evolving. I think it's going to branch out the way it's done.
Bands in the future will continue to draw from the past. Some going back to the 80s, to the classic bands. Some going back to the early 90s and the Nordic stuff, and the French sound, and so on and so forth.
You're built of ice, of course. It's good with the ice that everything is steady, but still you need movement, and everything is moving. Everything is constantly changing. But you also have to be aware of the source, being the ice.
And it's going to continue with the bands who want to sell 500,000 records and have these big plush productions, and bands who record a rehearsal tape in their rehearsal room and push that as people who want both. So
the real bands will stay, and some new bands will rise and have some real things to say.
Don't tell me, you could write songs about, sacrificing children to Satan and kill Christians and rape nuns, but then tell me that I can't, say that the Holocaust was fake and that, too bad it didn't happen, and, substitute Christian with Jew. That seems to be a sore spot, and it shouldn't be in a music form such as black metal.
Seems that black metal has given birth for many different styles and still will, and I don't have nothing against that. I just hope that they use different names for their music styles. I mean that you cannot have Christian black metal or vegetarian black metal or national socialist black metal. It is just black metal, or then it is not black metal at all.
This is like a musical experiment in heaviness, and it's to make it more intense and more heavy and more dynamic and more satanic, and to get bigger and louder and bolder and brasher, and just to keep pushing that.
It has been around for 3 decades almost, so yeah, it will survive.
I don't think something that people are so passionate about as black metal or even heavy metal in itself is ever going to die out. It's like punk, there's always going to be kids out there that are so into it, they're going to keep it alive.
Venom's an evolution.
Yes.
Venom, it always will evolve. I mean, I would really like to have this lineup now for 10 or even 20 years because, this is the heaviest I've heard Venom. This is the most fun I'm having. People say about, the only Venom is Kronos, Mantis, and Abaddon. And, although that we agree with that lineup could never exist.
I mean, some bands stick to their formulas and still do very good, like bands like Darkthrone, for instance.
I never did music or whatever to oppose or to be a rebel, but I tend to naturally go against the grain.
We didn't consider Kalifrost black metal, but the scene considered us black metal for a long time.
It doesn't matter if you want to put us in the black metal section doesn't matter.
We actually formed Celtic Frost because we wanted not to be regarded as satanic, because we thought that because we thought that this the way that the Satanist approach worked back then, after Venom developed black metal, was a one-way road, and that's why you don't find anything satanic in the term Celtic Frost. I mean, what is there satanic in Celtic or Frost?
take the black metal crowd, it's like divided into 3 main parts. One of them, which is this kind of underground people, which believe that only the underground is true, and they spend more time into trying to know who is underground or not, and they don't spend anything about Satanism or really acting in the world. There's another part which is these people that come into black metal because they feel attracted to it, because maybe they were frustrated by society or their life, so they come to it because it seems extreme, but they cannot understand or apprehend it. But there is this third part that makes all the difference, which are people that have been here from the beginning, and people that have come, you know, in the meantime, and people that still come today and understand the real spirit of it.
As you can get it, it's the early 70s. I'm very inspired by, you know, but the guy that is dead now, but who used to sing for Uriah Heep, David Byron, that's my all-time favorite vocalist, all-time favorite, unbelievable guy.
One of the greatest singers of all time. Possessed is me and Demonos' favorite band, Beyond the Gates. Me and Demonos, you know, we never drink together without listening to Beyond the Gates.
You turn yourself. We just didn't sell out, you know, when the record companies wanted us to do more commercial stuff so they would make more money. We just stuck a middle finger up, you know. We don't sell out for anybody. We have our integrity. And, you know, the core of Venom will always be the same. See, the actual legend of Venom is bigger than any one of us.
Right.
You know, we have a responsibility to Venom, so we can't actually take any action to screw up Venom, you know. We have to follow a certain course. But we're certainly not going to let no record company step in and screw it up, you know.
There's a deeper essence to this, and it's that Martin and I were never afraid to listen to all kinds of music that we like. I mean, this is the very essence of Celtic Frost. It's the Hence albums like Into Pandemonium, or even things that you can find on the first album, tales like Dance Macabre and the violins and the female vocals. We listen to whatever, new wave, pop, rock, metal, whatever we like, classical, jazz, and we try to mix this with our music. And we didn't give a shit about any peer pressure. We wanted to be honest, and you know, it's music, and as long as it moves me, it's fucking legitimate. If I listen to it, if somebody doesn't like it, they can come up to me and tell me that, and I'll answer it accordingly.
I'll never forget when I heard Merciful Fate for the first time, and it was the first time I popped in a tape, and you know, not just feeling anger and stuff like that, but you know, you could almost see demons swirling around the room. You know, the mystical quality to it was so incredible. It had so much depth beyond just the music. You know, the aura, the mood. You know, it made me want to go out and read. You know, what is you know, King Diamond talking about when he says this or that.
I didn't even know what a falsetto voice was when I started singing. I was forced into singing. I was playing guitar back then. I played guitar for a couple of years, you know, and was forced into singing. And when we started doing some shows, and I got a little more control and did better and better. And here and there, a high voice slipped through, you know. Yeah. And it was a fan that came up to me one day after a show and said, "Man, you gotta work on that falsetto, man. God, that sounded cool, man."
So, if you just perceive it the way it has to be perceived, which is coming to the cult, understand what lies beyond and what is in surface. You have to perceive all that to become a part of it, and then you understand something that is so
have a backwards message on Melissa? What message is this when you play Satan's Cross Upon the Wall backwards?
I don't know.
Was that intentional? You don't seem to know anything about it.
No, what? Tell me about it.
All right, if you play Melissa backwards, Satan's Cross Upon the Wall, you hear, what message is this? Was that planned? You look like you didn't know. I have it on tape.
That's what it says when you listen to it the ordinary way.
No, the ordinary way is Satan's Cross Upon the Wall, and backwards it's, what message is this?
Is that what it says?
Yes,
what
yes.
message is this?
Yes.
Satan's cross upon the wall.
Didn't plan that, huh?
No, we always did it the right way, you know. It would be stupid for us to try and put something in there when you played it the other way around, because it's all there, you know. There's nothing hidden there at all. It's all straightforward.
Give me your guys' 2 cents of the SOD song, whatever happened to Celtic Frost. Celtic Frost.
Okay, I can agree with that. Fuck SOD.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Fuck them. Whatever happened to SOD anyway?
Why Winter Storms?
Because they're catchy.
Catchy in what way?
Catchy and blinding and dangerous and bitey and have you ever experienced a winter storm in Rock
Nope, I live here in California.
No.
We don't get snow in California.
It's the ultimate experience. Probably a sandstorm too, you know, like a fucking no, it's like the powerful elements of nature. You know, the most powerful elements in nature is fire and ice.
Well, Ishan's dad is a police officer. We thought that was amusing.
So what are some of the bands that committed musical treason?
Metallica.
You bought a Motley Crue Theater of Pain shirt.
Yeah, you got that.
We got that. We got it.
We're okay. If I wore the Motley Crue Theater of Pain shirt to a Celtic Frost show, I would have gotten beat up.
Not by me though.
I mean, one funny thing with it, though, I mean, you know, I can tell you one story, was when I was an emperor, we used to rehearse right across the road from a small little church. And there was a, what do you call it, congregation? Is that the word?
Yeah.
And we just got out of rehearsal and we actually took a big chunk of wood and we actually, you know, closed them all inside the church. They couldn't get out. We thought that was kind of fun. But, you know, it doesn't mean anything. We were like 17-year-olds and, you know, just doing fucking little pranks like that. You know, and then everything got crazy with killing people and shit like that later on.